Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. Today we're jumping into something that, it often surprises people. This whole idea that earning a lot of money doesn't automatically mean you're financially free. Or, guarantees wealth. We hear more money, fewer problems, right? But for so many high earners, it's actually the opposite. Stress, living paycheck to paycheck sometimes,
Yeah.
or just struggling to build any real lasting financial security. It's quite a thing. It seems totally backwards, doesn't it? So our main source for this deep dive is this really insightful article, Why High Earners Struggle with Money. It really unpacks this puzzle. We're going to explore why income, I mean, it's powerful, obviously, but why it isn't the only key to, financial peace of mind. Our mission really is to look behind the curtain, see the behavioral traps, the sometimes unrealistic expectations, and yeah, the money habits that can trip up even people with really good incomes. And maybe most importantly, we want to figure out the actual steps, the actionable things that can lead anyone really to proper financial independence, no matter where you're starting from. So let's dig into these sources. What jumps out first?
Well, it's almost like this collective delusion we have, isn't it? You hear millionaires and boom, yachts, mansions, spending without a care. But what I found really powerful in this source is how it just dismantles that fantasy. It shows that real wealth,
Yeah.
it's actually kind of the opposite of just spending tons.
That's a huge shift in thinking. We're sort of conditioned, aren't we? Just earn enough, problems disappear, buy whatever you want. But the article really turns that on its head. It stresses that the real power isn't in what you make. It's all about what you manage to keep.
Exactly. And that's the paradox, right? Higher income often just leads straight to more spending. The extra money just doesn't stick around like people think it will. It's like it flows through their hands, only faster.
Hmm.
And the source points out something critical, almost chilling, really. Wealth acts like an amplifier. So if you've got poor money habits when you don't have much, those habits don't just stick around. They get magnified when you have more money. It's like pouring gasoline on a financial fire that's already burning.
Wow, that is a stark warning. But, I can imagine someone listening, maybe they're struggling with a lower income right now. They might be thinking, yeah, but if I just had more, my problems would go away. Does the article show any empathy for that initial struggle? Or is it purely focused on how bad habits get worse with more income?
Well, it definitely acknowledges the dream, yeah.
Right.
We all have it. But then it pivots pretty sharply, actually, to the reality. It makes it really clear that this dream, more money equals freedom, well, it's a bit of a trap if you haven't first built the right mindset. Money, the article argues, needs to be seen as a tool,
Yeah.
a tool for long-term fulfillment, a means to an end, not the goal itself, and definitely not just a license for immediate gratification. And this really leads us to the foundation, the bedrock of building wealth. Think about it like building a skyscraper. You could have all the money for materials, right, and all the time for construction. But if you don't have the blueprint, the plan, and the steady hand of the builder, that discipline, it's just not going to stand tall. The article highlights this missing piece for many. It lists the top 3 ingredients for wealth as discipline, money, and time. And here's the key takeaway. Discipline is the one you have the most control over right now. You can't just magic up more money or more time instantly, but you can choose to be disciplined starting today.
It sounds almost too simple when you put it like that, doesn't it? Just live below your means.
Hmm.
But yeah, that seems to be exactly where so many high earners actually fall down. What specific blind spots or maybe psychological hurdles does the article mention? Why is this basic discipline so tough for them?
It points to a few things. A big one is just our consumption-driven culture.
Okay.
And kind of ironically, the belief that because they earn a lot, they're somehow exempt from careful money management, like they've earned the right to spend freely. But the article just cuts right through that thinking. It gives a very specific, very actionable habit, something it frames as pretty much non-negotiable for building real wealth.
It's one thing to talk about discipline in the abstract, but yeah, the article gives us a concrete number, a target. I found that really helpful.
Yes, exactly. It's quite precise. Save and invest 25% of your gross income. And it emphasizes this isn't just some random number they pulled out of a hat. The source explains it's a figure that tries to balance, our behavioral tendency, how he actually acts with money, with the cold, hard math of wealth building. It's designed to be effective, but hopefully not so extreme that it feels totally impossible for most high earners.
Okay, 25%. And does it give any practical tips? Like, how do you actually do that without feeling totally deprived? Maybe automation or breaking it down.
Automation is definitely highlighted
Oh.
big time. Make the decision once, set it up, and let it happen automatically in the background. out of sight, out of mind, sort of.
Yeah.
It also clarifies something interesting about employer matches and retirement plans.
Hmm.
For lower-income folks, that match can be a huge boost. But for high-income earners, the responsibility shifts. They often don't get the same level of safety net from matches relative to their income. So the onus, the pressure for consistent, disciplined saving and investing, it falls much more squarely on their shoulders individually.
Right. So without that deliberate, disciplined approach, that 25% target or something like it, even a really high salary just, it won't translate into real lasting wealth. It's almost like a direct consequence, a mathematical outcome, which leads perfectly into the next big question. What actually happens when that discipline isn't there and the income just keeps going up?
Well, that's exactly when we run headfirst into the infamous lifestyle creep.
Mm.
As your income goes up, so does your spending. Almost automatically, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Things that used to be luxuries,
Mm-hmm.
the fancy car, the bigger house, maybe private schools, those really expensive holidays, they subtly start feeling like necessities. It's this slow, almost invisible upgrade to your standard of living that just seems to absorb every extra dollar you earn.
Oh, it's so insidious, right? It sneaks up on you. One minute you're thinking, okay, maybe a slightly nicer car. And then somehow down the line, you're justifying something way bigger, way more expensive. Often because your peer group, the people around you, have shifted too. That phrase, keeping up with the Joneses, it might sound a bit old-fashioned, but wow, is it ever relevant today with social media and everything?
Totally. And this feeds right into that psychological thing we talked about.
Yeah.
The hedonic treadmill. We all know that feeling, right? The buzz of getting a new phone, a new car. It feels amazing for a week, maybe two. Then, almost without you noticing, that initial joy just kind of fades. And you find yourself already browsing for the next upgrade. The article calls it the hedonic treadmill because these purchases only give you that short-term hit of satisfaction. It leads to this constant, frankly exhausting chase for the next shiny object.
And something else the source points out, which is maybe even more subtle but just as damaging, it's how even small oversights can really eat away at your long-term growth. Things like getting raises year after year but consistently forgetting or just not bothering to increase your retirement contributions. It seems like a small thing in the moment, right? But the compounding effect over decades, it's huge. It really is like having a tiny leak in a dam. Eventually, you lose a massive amount of water.
So, yeah, if we try to boil down all these behavioral traps, these pitfalls,
Yeah.
it really comes down to a few core problems. First, there's that consumption mindset thinking that how much you can spend is the same as how wealthy you are. It's just not true. Second, short-term gratification, choosing that immediate pleasure, that quick hit, over the discipline needed for much bigger, delayed rewards down the line. And third, that comparison pressure, making financial choices based on what other people have or do, instead of focusing on your own personal long-term goals.
Okay, so for someone listening right now, maybe feeling that pull of lifestyle creep, maybe seeing themselves in these descriptions, what's the actual solution? What does the article suggest to actively fight back against it?
The core advice is to consciously, deliberately tie your spending decisions back to your long-term financial goals, not to what your neighbors or colleagues are doing. And specifically, the really powerful move is this. Every time you get a raise, redirect a significant chunk of it directly into your investments before you even get used to having it. Don't let it hit your main checking account where it could just get absorbed into lifestyle upgrades. Make saving and investing the first thing you do with new income. Automatic, invisible.
Right. So let's try and pull this all together for you listening. The big message from this deep dive today seems to be about fundamentally shifting your focus. It's not just about chasing a bigger paycheck, it's about retaining and investing your wealth, really focusing on what you keep, not just what flows through your hands.
Absolutely. And remember, it's never too late to start building that financial muscle, that discipline. Start early if you can. Be consistent, even if the amounts feel small at first. The key is building the habit, making saving and investing automatic, non-negotiable.
But for those high earners or people aiming for higher incomes, that target we discussed is really clear. Aim for investing 25% of your gross income. That's the critical long-term goal. It's a number that seems grounded in both behavioral reality and the math of it all.
And be vigilant. Actively guard against that lifestyle inflation, that creep. When a raise or bonus comes your way, make a conscious choice. Direct a good portion of it towards building your army of dollar bills, as some people call it, your investments. Don't just automatically inflate your discretionary spending. That's how you build real financial leverage over time.
Ultimately, the real measure, as our source really underscores, is this. Financial independence and maybe even genuine happiness. It seems to be far more about how you manage your money than purely about how much you make. It's about being in control of your money, not letting it control you.
Yeah. And maybe just think about this. Beyond all the numbers and percentages, what does true financial freedom actually feel like? Imagine not constantly chasing the next dollar or the next purchase that only brings temporary joy. Imagine instead strategically building a future where your money is genuinely working for you, creating security and options. Think about that kind of peace of mind.